Hails of the King, baby.
That's right, everyone. It's Hails of the King, baby, because this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk entertainment. It's Thursday. It's OTA Thursday. The media is finally allowed into camp. Joe Schoen is making some more moves. I want to talk about James Bradberry briefly again, but I want to talk about really quickly the Giants and their what I perceive them trying to be to control the media narrative. And I find it interesting because I worked for two NFL teams and two AFL teams. And I find it interesting that I've been through many media days. I've been through some OTA, so I have a unique experience. And I cannot remember at any point in time for an extended period of time, the outside media not being allowed into the OTAs and having special media days almost in reference to the OTAs itself. I've never seen that before. I really never have. And it seems all the information that we had been receiving, of course, for recently has been from the Giants in-house media. Now, I'm not into conspiracy theories. I'm not into that. We talk about this also on the 312-1 podcast with OGR last night. That's already posted on Twitter. You can also find it on the YouTube channel later. But I just find it interesting that this team is kind of going in a different direction in the way they're controlling the narrative about this season. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? I don't know. I just find it curious, like I said, that they are trying to control this spin. And they always teach you in media that you always try to control the spin. You always try to get ahead of something that's going to cause you angst. But I just kind of find that interesting. I wanted to talk about James Bradberry because I was thinking about it last night that the Eagles are technically paying James Bradberry like $7.5 million, and then he can make like another $2.5 million if he makes like the Pro Bowl and if they win a Super Bowl or something. So if you're actually looking at what their total contract value is, it's going to be $10 million. And then I thought to myself, well, what is their dead cap hit? And I have to give, I think it's Warren Sharp. I saw it on Sharp Football last night as I was doing the research. And he pointed out that the Giants have a larger dead cap hit of $11.7 million to pay James. Basically, they're paying James Bradberry to play for the Eagles. I did not even think about it that way until I saw, like I said, I was doing the research and then I saw this tweet and I'm like, oh my God, he's right. We are paying James Bradberry more not to play for us, even though he doesn't get that money, but it's in reference to dead cap space. So even though he is not personally receiving those funds, it's still money that we are using to pay James Bradberry to basically go away in reference to, I don't mean paying him directly, but in reference to the cap hit. But we're paying him more not to play for us. And everyone's going to thank Gelman for it, and Mr. Sharp, Warren Sharp, thanked Gelman. But Gelman was, I just laugh because when we signed Bradberry and Martinez, everyone thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Then 2 seasons later, now that we can't afford him, it's all Gelman's fault. No, it's an organizational fault. It's not just Gelman's fault; it's an organizational fault. And I think that's the way we got to look at it. But I did find it a little interesting that we had this happen. And I was kind, and I don't want to say shocked, but I was kind of taken back a little bit by that. Also, the Giants have been making the roster moves. You knew this was coming. You knew they were going to make some roster moves. They dumped the Lewerke, the former Michigan State product, who had 8,239 yards passing, another 1,200 rushing, for a total of 9,058 yards, 9,548 yards. He was 22-16, of course, at Michigan State, but you know what? He didn't show enough in the pros to stay around. It's just interesting that you needed his arm in camp, and then all of a sudden he's out the door. But that's football. That's just sports. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, it is what it is. But you know what? We also made some other moves coming up in the last couple days, or I should say in the last couple hours. The Giants have terminated the contracts of linebacker Trent Harris, Raymond James III, Brian Lewerke, and they waived the injured defensive back Jordan Mosley. So, these are moves to be expected. They signed the 2 defensive backs yesterday that are familiar with the Wink system. They also signed they signed the defense. I like Jalen Holmes. You know what's funny? He didn't really do much in Minnesota, but I like Jalen Holmes. They also signed Henry Black. Holmes, of course, is a former 2018 4th-round pick for the Vikings who spent last season. I think he was with, who was it with the last season? Oh, he was with the Saints last season. And Henry Black, he's an undrafted rookie free agent out of Baylor who spent basically the past 2 years with the Packers, bouncing off and on the practice squad. So, it's more and more the Schoen is putting his stamp on the team, and it's what you want him to do. We also just signed we just signed a kid out from Philadelphia, another defensive back. So I mean, we're trying to find a plethora of defensive backs to come in here. And then also we waived Antonio Valentino got waived. I'm sorry that Antonio Valentino got waived. But we're trying to find basically, a combination of defensive backs, because honestly, you're still very thin, not only in the safety room, but the cornerback room is very thin in regards to immediate talent. I think you have a lot what we refer to as hopeful talent. And I think that they are just trying to, I think it was great yesterday. A subscriber was talking about, sometimes it's not a bad thing to sign a whole bunch of guys, and basically just throw them all against the wall and see who sticks. And he used the analogy of pasta, of testing and cooking pasta. What's the first thing you do when you test and cook pasta? You throw it on the ceiling or you throw it on the wall, and if it's done, you see if it sticks. And I guess that's going to be the Giants' perspective right now. And there's nothing wrong with that, because of the fact that with limited cap space and limited ability to make any, I would say, bold moves, this is what you're going to do. You're going to sign a bunch of low-end guys, and you hope some of them stick to the roster. If not, you're going to fill out them onto the practice squad itself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's probably the right direction for the Giants to go into. And I think that's the best way for the Giants to look at this. We might have another video today after we get some more information out of the OTAs, because like I said, the regular media is being allowed into the OTA. So we'll probably get some different information and maybe a different perspective on some of these guys. So we may do another video today. Hell, we might even stream tonight because the Rangers aren't playing after that loss. So we'll see what happens. We'll figure it out from then and there. I don't know yet. We'll kind of just play it by ear. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could like, if you subscribe, if you could ring that bell, you know what it means. That'd be awesome.